Well, hello everybody and welcome to our little Christmas service. I have to admit that this morning I feel a little bit like the Queen. She too records a Christmas message a few days before the event. She does it in her front room. She has a Christmas tree in the background, and really she delivers this message, which is going to be watched by millions of people after their Christmas dinner all around the world. Or maybe in my case I'm perhaps exaggerating the size of the audience a little, but you can see what I'm getting at, can't you? Well, this Christmas, as we all know, is going to be different. It's a great shame that we can't meet in the church face to face. It's a great pity that in our families too, we're not going to be able to meet and socialize the way that we normally do. But I hope it's going to be a time when people can set aside a bit of time to reflect and to reevaluate what this Christmas means. Now, one problem is that the Christmas that we experience isn't always particularly relevant to us, because it doesn't take place in our time, in our culture, in our environment. You can think of it, of course, as only relevant to 21st century go in the Middle East. If you're watching in your sitting room, look around and have a look at some of the cards. You know what some of them will be like. There'll be the manger scene. Very, very familiar, but actually quite alien. I don't know how many of you will have seen a shepherd on a hillside in the last few months. Probably not a lot. Come to think of it, not a lot of us will have seen sheep. I haven't got a stable on the doorstep. I suppose there might be one in Milton Keynes somewhere, but I wouldn't know where to find one. What about a visiting foreign dignitary? You might see one breezing up and down the M1 in a Mercedes or something, but not on a camel. And what about a manger? Most of us might have a bit of difficulty in saying what a manger actually is, though we all probably know, a feeding trough for cattle. So it's quite difficult to think outside the box of our familiar nativity scenes as we see them on the Christmas cards, and to think, well, what's this got to do with me here in Milton Keynes this time of year? So try to picture a scene that might be a bit more familiar. Think of a travel lodge or a Premier Inn somewhere by a busy road. It's a familiar scene to many of us perhaps. We go into the restaurant, we'll find there's families there, there'll be children running around letting off steam before bedtime. In one corner there'll be a little group of 3 businessmen sitting around a table on their expense account lunch with a good bottle of wine, discussing their sales strategy or something like that. You might have noticed as you parked, there was a group of council workmen out there. They were outside because they were enjoying a cigarette, have a few pints out there, as a little break between their work resurfacing the road outside. What happens next? An old car draws up in the front, spluttering and banging. An agitated man gets out and runs into reception. What's it all about? His girlfriend. He's going to have a baby. They're on their way to the maternity hospital in the next town. But bumping along the road, her waters are broken, the baby's on the way, and anyway, the car's nearly out of petrol. It's snowing hard. Can anyone help? Well, you can probably guess there isn't a room free. And the receptionist, one young girl who's on night duty, can't turn somebody out of their room and can't turn it over to having a baby born there, because it'll make so much mess. So she says, well, there's the servants' quarters, there's an old room down there, a tool shed, tool room we can use. But what about a cot for the baby? We haven't got a cot spare, no. But we've got an old toolbox, or perhaps you can use a drawer. How about that? We can line it with some old sheets. And that's what happens. The baby's born there in a tool shed and placed in an old box. While they're mopping up, cleaning themselves down, something happens in the car park. Another car draws up, big car, and a stranger gets out. He's a tall man, very authoritative, very well dressed, and he approaches the council workmen. Well, they're a bit scared, they're a bit frightened because he looks like a council official who's just come to check up on them not having a quiet pint and a fag when they're supposed to be working. Anyway, he delivers a message to them, and they look a bit puzzled, scratch their heads, and then they decide to go and find out what is happening in this tool shed. So as they go around the back to the rear car park, they suddenly see that the car park is actually full of tall men, very smartly dressed. They're having a little sing-song. They're clapping each other on the back. They're laughing. They're celebrating about something. Well, what is this? What has happened? Are they here for some party or other? Anyway, they're going to see if they can help. You see, they've actually got a 4x4, and they could possibly, get this new family into the hospital if that's what they need. But no, they go in, they find the babies there asleep, and the parents, mum's a bit exhausted, but it's the scene of peace and tranquility. So I thought, well, this is amazing. We'd better tell them that the baby has come very, very quickly. So they rush out into the reception and tell everybody, oh, there's a baby being born. There's a baby being born in the shed out the back there. The three businessmen, they put their wine glasses down and think, well, we'd better go and have a look, see if we can help in some way. So they go out too, and they find the baby. They organise, there we are, they organise a whip round amongst all the clients there in the hotel to help the family, the new family, with the stuff they're going to have to buy after the birth. Well, I guess you know the story. It's a bit of a paraphrase, it's a bit corny the way I've done it. But supposing you were there in the hotel and you saw all this going on, where would you fit in? Where would you fit in? What it means actually is that this supernatural event, this amazing event that absolutely turned our world upside down, happened in very ordinary surroundings. No matter what class or background, people were affected by it. Not just the super rich or the super powerful or the super religious. This event was for everyone. It's those people, actually, the super rich, etc., are the ones that probably ignored the event or just rejected it. Now, that first Christmas was an extraordinary event in very ordinary circumstances, but in very ordinary surroundings to people like you and me. No matter what colour we are, no matter what size we are, no matter what class we are, whatever our standard of education, this event was for each one of us in this place, in this century. Amazing how a world-changing event can take place in such an ordinary space. So, this Christmas, when you look at a Christmas card and you see one of the ordinary nativity scenes, or maybe the little nativity tableau you might have on your table or something like that, just look beyond it. God didn't send Jesus just for that time and that place and just for those people. He sent him for all time, for all places, for all people. So that means now, that means here, and that means you. So can I wish you a very happy and blessed Christmas, different though it will be this year. And I just pray for those for whom Christmas is a different event, just a time for drink and food, celebrations and presents, to look beyond that and say that Jesus is for you, is here and now. Bless you all.